There's a particular kind of silence that follows gunfire. Not the deafening kind you expect, but something hollow, like the world holding its breath, waiting to see who survives. Sienna Okafor knew that silence, knew the weight of it as she pressed her hands against Rhys Bennett's chest, blood warm and relentless between her fingers, and watched the man who'd promised to keep her safe stop breathing because of her. But love doesn't begin with bullets. It begins with walls, with two people so damaged by their pasts that the idea of letting someone in feels like a death sentence. This is the story of how those walls came down and what it cost them both. The restaurant was the kind of place where power or Italian suits and negotiations happened over wine that cost more than most people's rent. Sienna sat across from her father, Victor Okafor, pushing grilled salmon around her plate, the weight of 3 months of freedom still feeling foreign on her shoulders. "You look healthier," Victor said, though his eyes told a different story, concern wrapped in restraint. "The lake house suits you." "It's quiet. I needed quiet after." She didn't finish, didn't need to. Victor reached across the table, his large hand covering hers. "You're my daughter. Whatever you need, I'll provide it." "Sienna?" The voice cut through the ambient murmur like ice water down her spine. Her entire body locked. Julian Whitmore stood 3 feet away, 6 feet of calculated charm in a custom suit, with that smile that once made her feel chosen, and now just made her feel hunted. "Sienna?" Her voice came out steady despite her heart's rebellion. "Having dinner, I see." His eyes flicked to Victor with barely concealed contempt. "Mr. Okafor, always a pleasure." "Wish I could say the same." Julian's smile tightened, his attention returning to Sienna. "I was hoping we could talk. Privately." "We have nothing to discuss." "I disagree." He moved closer. Sienna's chair scraped backwards instinctively. Julian noticed. His jaw flexed. 4 years of marriage and you won't even have a civil conversation? We were good together. We can be again. "We were never good together. You were good at pretending. I was good at surviving." Something dark flashed across his face. "Don't be dramatic. I made mistakes. I'm willing to work on them. Couples therapy, whatever you need." "No." Sienna stood, her petite frame trembling but her voice iron. "The answer is no. Today, tomorrow, forever. I'm not coming back." Julian's hand shot out, gripped her wrist. Not hard, he was always careful about that, but firm enough to hold her in place. His thumb pressing against her pulse point in a gesture that looked tender, but felt like ownership. "Let her go." Victor was on his feet, voice low and lethal. "We're just talking." Julian's tone stayed smooth, conversational. "Aren't we, darling? Tell your father we're just talking." Victor stepped closer, rage barely leashed. "If your family's connections weren't keeping you out of prison for what you did to her, we wouldn't be having this conversation." Julian's eyes glinted. "Lucky for me, then, isn't it?" Sienna yanked her hand free. "Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't show up where I am. We're done, Julian." She grabbed her purse and walked out. Victor close behind. But not before she heard Julian's parting words, soft and venomous. "You'll come back. You always do." In the car, Sienna's hands shook so badly she had to sit on them. Victor pulled out of the parking lot, knuckles white on the steering wheel. That son of a... Dad, please, I just want to go home. He touched you in public like he still owned you? Victor's voice cracked with helpless fury. I should have done more during the divorce. Should have... You did what I asked. I didn't want a war. I just wanted out. They drove in tense silence before Victor spoke again, quieter. His father called me yesterday. Preston Whitmore wanted to discuss reconciliation, said Julian was devastated that you were being unreasonable. Sienna's head whipped toward him. What did you tell him? That my daughter's safety is non-negotiable. He pulled into her driveway, turned to face her. But Sienna, the Whitmores are powerful. If Julian decides to escalate, legally, politically, I can fight him, but it'll be messy. He paused. I'm hiring you a bodyguard. Absolutely not. Sienna. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not living in fear. I'm not letting him control my life even after the divorce. Her voice rose. And I'm not letting you make decisions for me like I'm still a child. This isn't about control. It's about keeping you alive. He's not going to hurt me. He's too image conscious for that. Maybe, but I'm not willing to bet your life on maybe. Victor's voice softened. Please, just let me do this. Let me keep you safe. Rhys Bennett arrived 3 days later. Sienna was in her garden, hands buried in soil, trying to lose herself in the rhythm of planting, when she heard footsteps on the gravel path. She looked up, and her breath caught. The man standing at the edge of her garden was substantial. 6'3" of coiled muscle and a black tactical shirt and dark jeans, with a face that looked like it had been carved from discipline and hard choices. His hair was military short, dark brown, and his eyes, storm gray and assessing, swept over the property before landing on her. Miss Okafor, I'm Rhys Bennett. Your father hired me as your personal protection specialist. Sienna stared at him. Excuse me? Rhys Bennett, ma'am. Your father doesn't make decisions for me anymore, and I definitely didn't ask for a babysitter. His expression didn't change, not even a flicker. With respect, this isn't about what you asked for. It's about keeping you safe. Safe from what? Bad reviews on my nonprofit work? Your ex-husband has been making threats. Your father takes those threats seriously. Sienna stood, brushing dirt from her knees. Even standing, the top of her head barely reached his shoulders. Your father can hire whoever he wants. Doesn't mean I agree to it. Noted. I'll be staying in the guest house. My shift starts now. Your shift? She let out a bitter laugh. I'm sorry. Did I miss the part where I became a job? Something flickered in his expression. Irritation, maybe. You missed the part where your ex-husband has been driving past your cottage 6 times in the past week. Where he's been calling from different numbers. Where he showed up at your father's office making veiled threats about protecting what's his. Sienna's blood went cold. How do you know all that? Because it's my job to know. He pulled out a tablet, showed her surveillance photos. Julian's Mercedes, parked down the road from her cottage, time-stamped. You're being stalked, Miss Okafor, whether you want to admit it or not. The evidence was damning, terrifying, but the way he said it, clinical, emotionless, like she was just another contract, made her defensive. So what, are you going to follow me around? lurk in corners, turn my life into a prison? Her voice went hollow. I just escaped one controlling man. I'm not trading him for another. Rhys's jaw tightened. I'm not here to control you. I'm here to keep you breathing. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, you look like every other man who thinks he knows what's best for me. Lady, I don't care what's best for you. I care about doing my job and collecting my paycheck. He turned toward the guest house. I'll try to stay out of your way. I suggest you do the same. He walked away, and Sienna stood there, fury and fear warring in her chest. She hated him already. For the first week, they orbited each other like hostile planets. Rhys was everywhere and nowhere. She'd see him doing perimeter checks at dawn, a dark silhouette moving through morning mist. He'd be in his truck when she went grocery shopping, maintaining a precise 50-foot distance. Once, she woke at 2 a.m. to get water and found him standing outside her window, hand on his concealed weapon, before he registered her face and relaxed fractionally. It was suffocating. She tried to talk to him. This is insane. I'm going to the post office, not a war zone. Noted. You don't have to follow me to the farmer's market. Yes, I do. Can you at least pretend to be human? His eyes met hers, flat, professional. No. He spoke in clipped sentences, never smiled, maintained emotional distance like it was part of his equipment. One afternoon, she snapped. She was carrying groceries when a bag tore, sending oranges rolling across the driveway. Rhys appeared from nowhere and started gathering them with military efficiency. I can do it myself. I know. Then why are you helping? Because it's faster if we both do it. God, do you ever just feel things? Or is everything just tactics and efficiency? He straightened, handed her the oranges. His expression was unreadable. Feelings get people killed, Miss Okafor. I learned that the hard way. There was something in his voice, a hairline crack in the armor, that made her pause. She asked softly, "What happened to you?" "Nothing that concerns you." He walked away before she could respond. But Sienna had spent 4 years learning to read the language of emotional wounds. She recognized them in him now. The hypervigilance, the deliberate distance, the way he never fully relaxed. This man wasn't cold. He was frozen, self-protected, locked away. And despite herself, despite everything, she wanted to know why. 2 weeks into their hostile coexistence, Sienna was in her living room at midnight, barefoot in an oversized t-shirt, dancing badly to 90s R&B, using a hairbrush as a microphone. She had wine in her system and exhaustion in her bones, and for the first time in months, she felt something close to lightness. She spun around, laughing at herself, and froze. Rhys stood in the doorway, tactical vest still on from his perimeter check, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite name. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough to realize you have absolutely no rhythm." She threw a pillow at him. He caught it effortlessly. "Was that humor from the robot? Someone marked the calendar." "That's not artistry. That's a cry for help." Sienna laughed, surprised, genuine. "Did you just make a joke?" Something shifted in his face. Not quite a smile, but close. "Go to bed, Miss Okafor. It's late." "Only if you stop calling me Miss Okafor. It makes me feel like I'm 80. What should I call you? My name, Sienna. Try it. I promise it won't kill you. He looked at her for a long moment, and something in the air between them changed. Sienna, he said, and the way her name sounded in his deep voice made her stomach flip. Better, she managed. Good night, Sienna. Good night, Rhys. But neither of them moved for several heartbeats, caught in something neither could name. If you believe people deserve to heal from their past without being hunted for it, hit that subscribe button right now. Julian Whitmore wouldn't, but you're not him. Drop a comment saying, everyone deserves freedom if you stand against controlling, manipulative exes who refuse to let go. After that night, small cracks appeared. Rhys still did his checks with military precision, but now he'd pause at her kitchen window where she worked late, and she'd lift her mug in silent acknowledgement. She still rolled her eyes when he insisted on checking her par every morning, but she also started leaving coffee on the porch railing. Black, no sugar, always hot, never mentioned. They existed in the same space without friction now, moving around each other like dancers, learning steps, careful but no longer cold. He fixed her porch light without being asked. She made extra dinner and left it in containers he'd find later. They weren't friends. The walls were still there, just lower now. One evening, as sunset painted the sky purple and orange, Sienna sat on her porch trying to work through grant proposals when she heard his footsteps on the path below. Without thinking, she called out, "Coffee's getting cold if you want some." He paused, looked up at her silhouetted against the fading light, and after a moment that felt like a choice being made, he nodded and climbed the steps to join her. "Why do you do this?" Sienna asked after he sat. "The bodyguard thing. You were military, right? You could do anything." Rhys was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Afghanistan. Third tour. We were escorting a civilian convoy, aid workers, doctors, good people trying to help. Ambush came out of nowhere. IED took out the lead vehicle, small arms fire from both sides. We fought, but... He stopped, jaw clenching. 3 civilians died, including a woman named Kira. She was a trauma surgeon from Seattle. Had a son back home, 8 years old. Rhys, I was 10 feet away, 10 feet, and I couldn't save her. He looked at her then, and the pain in his eyes was raw enough to cut. I replay it every night. Different choices, faster reaction time, better positioning, always ends the same way. She was something more, wasn't it? Sienna asked, softly. He nodded, throat working. We were close. Kept it quiet because of regulations, but yeah, she was everything. His voice went hollow, and I failed her. And you don't let yourself care because caring means feeling, and feeling means it hurts when you fail. His head turned toward her sharply. You're psychoanalyzing me? No, just recognizing something I know too well. Emotional lockdown. It's effective, until it's not. They sat in silence. Then Rhys asked quietly, "What happened with your ex?" Sienna had known this conversation was coming, had been both dreading and needing it. Julian was perfect at first. Charming, attentive, made me feel like the most important person in the world. We got married fast, too fast. And then the mask started slipping. He hit you? No, Julian was too smart for that. He never left marks you could see. Her voice went hollow. He'd isolate me from friends. Always had a reason why they were bad influences. He'd criticize everything. My clothes, my work, my opinions, but in this concerned, loving way. He controlled our finances, monitored my phone, told me where I could go and when. That's abuse. I know that now. Took me 2 years to see it, another 2 to find the courage to leave. She looked at Rhys. The worst part wasn't the control, it was how he made me doubt myself. Every fight, he twists things until I was apologizing for things I didn't do, until I genuinely believed I was the problem, too sensitive, too emotional, too broken. Rhys's hands clenched into fists. Where is he now? Legally, 50 feet away from me at all times. Restraining order. Lot of good that's done. If he touches you again, you'll do what? Beat him up and go to jail? Sienna shook her head. That's what he wants. An excuse to play victim, to say I'm unstable, that I need him. She met Rhys's eyes. The best revenge is living well, being happy, showing him he didn't break me. Did he? The question hung between them, honest and sharp. Almost, Sienna whispered, but not quite. Rhys reached over, his large calloused hand covering her small one. The gesture was careful, asking permission. She turned her palm up and laced their fingers together. They sat like that until dawn. The moment everything exploded happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Sienna was having a spectacularly bad day. Her nonprofit had hit funding delays. Her therapy appointment had been canceled. And she'd made the mistake of checking social media, only to find photos of Julian at some charity gala with a new girlfriend. Young, beautiful, smiling adoringly at him the same way Sienna once had before she learned what that smile cost. She was in her kitchen, stress-baking cookies she didn't want, when Rhys walked in from his afternoon perimeter check, soaked from rain. "You should come inside when it's storming," she said without looking up. "Can't. Schedule doesn't stop for weather." "Your schedule is gonna get you struck by lightning. Worth the risk?" She glanced up at him, water dripping from his hair, shirt plastered to his muscular frame, looking like some kind of warrior fresh from battle, and something inside her just broke. "Why are you like this?" The words came out sharper than intended. Rhys went still. "Like what?" "So dedicated to keeping everyone safe that you forget to keep yourself safe. So busy protecting people that you won't let anyone protect you." Her voice cracked. "Do you even care if you live or die, Rhys?" "That's not—" "Because I care." The admission tumbled out before she could stop it. "I care if something happens to you. I care that you stand out in lightning storms and skip meals and barely sleep. I care about you, okay? And I hate that I do because caring about someone again is terrifying. And you're my bodyguard and this is completely inappropriate and I—" Rhys crossed the kitchen in 3 strides, cupped her face in his hands, and kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tentative. It was desperate and fierce and full of months of denied want. Sienna made a sound, surprise, relief, need, and kissed him back. Her hands fisting in his wet shirt, pulling him closer, closer, like she could crawl inside his skin and stay there forever. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Rhys pressed his forehead to hers. "I care too," he whispered roughly. "God, help me. I care so much it scares the hell out of me." "Then stop pushing me away." "I'm trying to keep you safe." "From Julian or from yourself?" He didn't answer, just kissed her again, this time softer, achingly tender, like she was something precious he was terrified of breaking. "Rhys," she breathed against his mouth. "I need—" The window shattered. Rhys moved on instinct, grabbing Sienna, twisting his body to shield hers, as they hit the floor, glass raining down around them. "Stay down!" His voice was pure command, no trace of the man who'd been kissing her seconds ago. Another window exploded, then another. Rocks. Someone was throwing rocks. Rhys pulled his weapon, low-crawled to the window, peered out, and his entire body went rigid. Sienna's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Come outside and talk to me like an adult, or I keep breaking things. Your choice, darling." "Don't," Rhys said immediately, reading her expression. "You don't even think about it." "He's not going to stop. I don't care. You're not going out there." "Rhys." "No." His voice was steel. "This is exactly what he wants. To isolate you. To make you feel like you have to handle him alone." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police." "They won't do anything. He'll say he was just trying to talk to me, that I overreacted." Sienna's voice went bitter. "You think this is the first time he's played this game?" Rhys's jaw clenched. "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to end this." She stood, brushed glass from her clothes. "I want to tell him to his face, one last time, that we're done. And I want you there with me when I do it." Everything in Rhys's training screamed at him to refuse. But he looked at Sienna, this small, fierce woman who'd survived hell and come out fighting, and saw the truth. She needed this, needed to face her demon on her terms. "Okay," he said finally, "but we do this my way. You stay behind me. He makes one wrong move, I put him down. Understood?" She nodded. They walked out together. Rhys slightly ahead, weapon concealed but accessible, every line of his body radiating controlled threat. Julian stood in the driveway, perfectly groomed despite the rain, smiling like this was all some amusing game. "There she is," he said warmly. "I was starting to think you'd forgotten how to have a simple conversation." "What do you want, Julian?" Sienna's voice was steady. "To talk. Is that so unreasonable? We were married for 4 years, Sienna. Doesn't that count for something?" "It counts for 4 years I'll never get back." Julian's smile tightened. "You've always been dramatic. It's exhausting. Then leave. Stop showing up, stop calling, stop acting like you have any right to be in my life." "I have every right." His voice went cold. "You're my wife." "Ex-wife. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago." "A piece of paper doesn't change what we are." He took a step forward. Rhys immediately moved to block him, hand going to his weapon. Julian's eyes flicked to Rhys, assessing. "Ah, the bodyguard. Victor's latest attempt to keep you away from me." He smiled. "Tell me, Sienna, are you sleeping with the help now? Is that what this is?" "Watch your mouth," Rhys said quietly. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. "Or what? You'll shoot me." Julian laughed. "I'm unarmed, standing in a driveway, having a conversation with my ex-wife. Every cop in the county knows my family. You pull that trigger, you go to prison." "Worth it," Rhys said flatly. Something flickered across Julian's face. Uncertainty, maybe fear. He'd expected threats, expected posturing. He hadn't expected someone who genuinely didn't care about the consequences. "This isn't over, Sienna," Julian said, stepping back. You think you can just walk away, build a new life, pretend I don't exist? His voice dropped to something ugly. You're mine. You'll always be mine. And if I can't have you, I'll make sure no one else can either. He turned and walked to his car, got in, drove away. But not before Sienna saw it. The look in his eyes. Pure, calculated rage. He's going to escalate, Rhys said quietly, watching the taillights disappear. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. I know, Sienna whispered, and for the first time since leaving Julian, she felt genuine fear. That night, Sienna couldn't sleep. She found Rhys on the porch, sitting in the dark, weapon within reach, as always. Can't sleep either? She asked softly. Never could. Not really. Not since. He didn't finish. She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. Thank you for today, for being there. It's my job. Is it? She turned to face him. Is that all this is? A job? Rhys was quiet for a long moment. Then, no, it stopped being just a job a long time ago. When? The night you danced with a hairbrush. A ghost of a smile. Maybe before that. I don't know. You got under my skin. Made me remember what it feels like to care about someone. His voice went rough, and it terrifies me, because everyone I've ever cared about, I've lost. You haven't lost me. Not yet. Rhys! Julian's right about one thing. If I kill him, even in self-defense, even protecting you, I go to prison. My company loses its license, and you're left alone. I can't protect you from prison, Sienna, so I need you to promise me something. What? If it comes down to him or me, if it's a choice between letting him hurt you or me doing what needs to be done, I need you to let me make that choice. No guilt, no second guessing. Just let me do what I'm trained to do. You're asking me to let you sacrifice yourself? I'm asking you to trust me to keep you safe, however that looks. Sienna took his face in her hands, forced him to look at her. I trust you, but I'm not losing you, Rhys. We'll find another way. He kissed her then. Slow and deep and devastating, like he was memorizing the taste of her, the feel of her, in case it was the last time. It wasn't, but it was close. The attack came 2 days later. Sienna was leaving her nonprofit's office downtown. Midday, broad daylight, plenty of witnesses, when Julian appeared from between parked cars. We need to talk, he said, grabbing her arm. Let go of me. She tried to pull away. His grip tightened. Not until you listen. You think you can just replace me, move on like I meant nothing? His voice went low and venomous. You're nothing without me, Sienna. Nothing. Rhys appeared like a shadow made solid. 1 second he wasn't there, the next he was between them, breaking Julian's hold with brutal efficiency. Back off. 2 words clipped and lethal. Julian stumbled back, and that's when Sienna saw it. The gun. Julian pulled it from his jacket, hands shaking, eyes wild with something beyond reason. You did this. You turned her against me. You poisoned her. Put it down, Rhys said calmly, his own weapon already drawn, aimed center mass. Put it down and walk away. Last chance. No. Julian's voice cracked. No, I'm done walking away. She's mine. She was always supposed to be mine. The gun swung towards Sienna. Everything happened in slow motion. Rhys moved, diving in front of her, his body a shield, just as Julian pulled the trigger. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Rhys jerked backward, blood blooming across his chest, and Sienna screamed. He stayed on his feet for a heartbeat, long enough to return fire, one clean shot that took Julian down, and then his legs buckled and he collapsed. Rhys! She dropped beside him, hands immediately going to the wound. Pressure. So much blood. No, 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 stay with me, please. His eyes found hers, already going unfocused. You're safe, he managed, blood on his lips. That's all that matters. No, you matter. You matter to me. Rhys, please. His hand found hers, squeezed weakly. Sienna, His eyes closed. No! Rhys, don't you dare! She was sobbing, shaking, covered in his blood. Someone call 911. Please, someone help! People were running, shouting. Someone was pulling her away, but she fought them, screaming Rhys's name, watching paramedics swarm him, watching them work frantically, watching the man who taught her to trust again bleed out on concrete because he'd chosen her life over his own. And in the distance, sirens. Too slow. Always too slow. The hospital waiting room was white and sterile and filled with a particular silence that comes with waiting to hear if someone you love will survive. Sienna sat in a chair, still wearing Rhys's blood. Her father beside her, saying nothing because there was nothing to say. Julian was dead. One clean shot. Self-defense, the police said. Justified. But Rhys was in surgery and they wouldn't tell her anything except critical condition. And we're doing everything we can. Hours passed like years. Finally, a doctor appeared. Family of Rhys Bennett? That's me, Sienna said immediately, standing on shaking legs. I'm his... She stopped. What was she? Client? Friend? The woman he'd taken a bullet for? The doctor looked at her blood-stained clothes and seemed to understand. He's alive. The bullet missed his heart by centimeters. Collapsed lung, significant blood loss. But he's stable. He's not out of the woods yet, but he's a fighter. Sienna's legs gave out. Victor caught her, held her while she sobbed into his shoulder. Relief and terror and love all crashing together. Can I see him? She asked when she could speak. He's unconscious. Won't wake for a while. But yes, room 412. She walked through sterile hallways on autopilot, pushed open the door to his room, and stopped. Rhys looked so small in the hospital bed. This man who'd seemed invincible, now pale and still, machines breathing for him, monitors tracking every heartbeat. She pulled a chair to his bedside, took his hand, still warm, still alive, and let the tears come. You stupid, beautiful, selfless idiot! You don't get to do this. You don't get to sacrifice yourself and leave me here alone. Her voice broke. I love you, okay? I love you, and you have to wake up so I can tell you properly, so I can fight with you about it and watch you try to push me away and refuse to let you. His fingers twitched in hers. Just barely, but enough. That's right, she said fiercely, squeezing his hand. You fight. You fight your way back to me, Rhys Bennett, because I'm not done with you, not even close. The heart monitor beeped steadily. She laid her head on the edge of his bed, still holding his hand, and waited. For him to wake up. For their story to continue. For the man who'd saved her life to let her save his. Sienna didn't leave. Not when the nurses changed shifts. Not when her father brought her food she couldn't eat. Not when visiting hours technically ended and a sympathetic nurse looked the other way. She stayed, holding Rhys's hand, talking to him about everything and nothing, telling him about the grant her nonprofit had finally secured, about how the police had closed the case, Julian's attack captured on multiple security cameras, Rhys's actions deemed unquestionably justified, about Preston Whitmore had released a statement calling his son's death a tragedy of mental illness, and offering no apology for the years of abuse. Your company called, she told his unconscious form on the second day. Your partner, Davis, I think? He said your job is waiting whenever you're ready. Said you're the best operator they've ever had. She squeezed his hand. But I already knew that. On the third day, just after dawn, his fingers squeezed back. Sienna's head shot up. Rhys? His eyelids fluttered, opened. Those storm-gray eyes unfocused at first, then clearing, finding her face. Sienna, he rasped, voice wrecked from the breathing tube they'd removed the day before. You're okay. She let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. Am I? You got shot, you absolute idiot. You almost died. But you're safe. His lips corked slightly. Worth it. No, it's not worth it. But tears came hot and fast. You don't get to decide your life is worth less than mine. You don't get to... Her voice broke completely. Rhys lifted his free hand, the movement clearly painful, and brushed tears from her cheek with his thumb. Hey, I'm okay. I'm here. You stopped breathing. On that sidewalk, you stopped breathing, and I thought... She couldn't finish. I heard you, he said softly, in the ambulance, at the hospital. I heard you talking to me. You did? You said you loved me. His eyes searched hers, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. Did you mean it? Sienna gripped his hand tighter. Every word. I love you, Rhys, and I know that terrifies you. I know you've spent years convinced you don't deserve it, that everyone you care about gets hurt, but I love you too. She stopped, blinked. What? I love you. He said it stronger this time, each word deliberate. I think I started falling the night you danced with a hairbrush, maybe before. You made me remember what it feels like to want to live instead of just survive. His voice went rough. And when I saw that gun aimed at you, all I could think was, not her. Anyone but her. I'd take 100 bullets if it meant keeping you safe. That's not romantic. That's concerning, she said. But she was smiling through tears. Probably. His thumb traced circles on her palm. But it's the truth. You asked me once if I cared whether I lived or died. The answer was no. Not for a long time. But now, His eyes held hers. Now I have a reason to fight, to heal, to want tomorrow. Sienna leaned down carefully, pressed her forehead to his. Then fight. Get better. Because we have a lot of tomorrows ahead of us, and I plan on spending them with you. Bossy, he murmured. You love it. Yeah, I really do. She kissed him then, soft and careful, mindful of his injuries, but full of promise, of futures they'd almost lost, of love neither had expected, but both desperately needed. When they broke apart, Rhys's eyes were already drifting closed again, exhaustion pulling him under. Sleep, she whispered. I'll be here when you wake up. Promise? His voice was barely audible. Promise. His hand relaxed in hers, and she watched his breathing even out, the monitors tracking his steady recovery. The rehabilitation center's garden was blooming with late spring flowers when Sienna pushed Rhys's wheelchair out into the sunshine. I can walk, he grumbled for the 100th time. Doctor said wheelchair for another week. Doctor's being overcautious. Doctor kept you alive. Humor him. She parked the chair beneath a willow tree, sat on the bench beside him. Besides, I like taking care of you. You're much more manageable when you can't run perimeter checks. He shot her a look. I'm not an invalid. No, you're stubborn and impossible and terrible at accepting help. She took his hand. Lucky for you, I'm not going anywhere. His expression softened. Lucky for me, he echoed quietly. They sat in comfortable silence, watching butterflies dance between flowers until Rhys spoke again. I've been thinking about what comes next, after I'm cleared for active duty. Sienna's heart clenched. She'd known this conversation was coming, had been dreading it. Back to protection work? No, I'm done with that. Davis agreed to buy out my share of the company. It's time. Time for what? To stop running from the things that scare me, from wanting things, from letting people in. He reached up, tucked a curl behind her ear. You asked me once if I cared whether I lived or died. Now I have an answer. I want to live, really live, not just survive another contract, another mission. I want mornings in that garden of yours. Terrible dancing, arguments about whether I need to rest more. I want... He paused, suddenly uncertain. I want you, if you'll have me. Sienna's breath caught. Rhys! I know I'm a mess. I've got PTSD and nightmares and probably a dozen other issues to work through. I'm not romantic. I can't promise to be easy. But I can promise I'll choose you every single day. I'll do the work. I'll show up. And I'll love you with everything I have. Tears slipped down Sienna's cheeks. You're wrong about one thing. What? You are romantic. Maybe not flowers and poetry, but the way you see me, the way you fought to come back from this, she gestured to his healing body. The way you made me believe I was worth saving, that's the most romantic thing anyone's ever done. She leaned in, kissed him soft and slow, tasting salt and promise and new beginnings. So yes, she whispered against his lips, yes, I'll have you, all of you. The nightmares and the stubbornness and that terrible habit of putting yourself last. I'll take all of it. and I'll love you through all of it." Rhys pulled her closer, as close as his healing ribs would allow, and buried his face in her hair. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do, and I'm going to spend as long as it takes proving that to you." "Might take a while." "Good. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me now, Rhys Bennett." "Best thing I've ever been stuck with," he murmured and kissed her again. The cottage looked different now. The guest house had been converted into Rhys's home office. He'd started a consulting firm, advising nonprofits on security protocols, work that let him help people without the constant deployments. Sienna's garden had expanded, now including vegetables alongside flowers, and Rhys had learned he had a talent for growing tomatoes, much to his own surprise. They'd settled into a rhythm, morning coffee on the porch, his hand finding hers while they cooked dinner, her reading beside him while he worked through trauma therapy homework. Small, ordinary moments that felt extraordinary because they'd both fought so hard to get here. Tonight, they sat on the porch swing, watching the sun set in streaks of amber and rose. "My father wants to meet you formally," she said. "Dinner next week. He's promised to be on his best behavior." Define best behavior for a billionaire who threatened to bury my predecessor. She laughed. "Fair point. He's been better, though. Stepped back. Let me make my own choices." She paused. "I think seeing how close I came to losing everything made him realize control isn't the same as protection." "Learned that lesson myself," Rhys said quietly, pressing a kiss to her temple. "We both did." She turned to face him. "I have something for you." She pulled a small box from her pocket. Not a ring box. Something different. Rhys opened it carefully. Inside was a key. "It's to the cottage," Sienna said, suddenly nervous. "I know you have the guest house, and this doesn't have to mean anything you're not ready for, but I thought I wanted you to know you have a home here. Not as my bodyguard, not as a guest, just as Rhys, as the man I love." He stared at the key for a long moment, and when he looked up, his eyes were bright. "I've never had that," he said roughly. "A home, somewhere I belonged. I've always been the outsider, the temporary placement, the guy who leaves before he gets too attached." "You're not leaving this time." It wasn't a question. "No," he agreed, closing his hand around the key. "I'm not. This is where I belong. With you." He kissed her then, soft and sure, and Sienna felt the last piece of her heart that Julian had damaged finally heal completely. They'd both been broken. Both survived things that should have destroyed them, but they'd found each other in the wreckage, and together, they'd built something beautiful. There's a different kind of silence that follows healing, not the heavy kind that chains you to the past, but the peaceful kind that whispers you're finally safe, that you're home. Sienna Okafor knew that silence now, knew the weight of Rhys's arm around her shoulders, the sound of his heartbeat steady and strong and alive against her ear. Love isn't the fairy tale that arrives without scars. It's the one you build together, piece by piece, from the rubble of everything that tried to break you. It's choosing someone every single day, standing and fighting through the darkness, taking bullets, literal or metaphorical, and coming back anyway. Because some loves are worth bleeding for, and theirs was worth everything. If you believe real love is about choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, hit that like button and subscribe to Hearts and Empires. Julian Whitmore thought love was ownership. Rhys Bennett proved it's sacrifice. Which kind of love do you believe in? Comment below and let's talk about what real love looks like. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that healing is possible and that beautiful love exists on the other side of pain.